so many choices for that fall garden.
What should we plant?
That's the question.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rock and Sea Homestead. My name is Marcy.
I'm Lance.
And we're here to talk a little bit today about our fall gardening plans. Yes, it's August, and even though it's still blazing hot in Oklahoma, we're kind of wrapping up the summer season, and our mind is already on fall gardening.
Yep.
So that's something that we're working on right now, because depending on what we're going to plant, we may need to start sooner rather than later.
Very true. Yep.
And I thought maybe we'd start this video out with just a few reflections and some of the lessons that we learned through our very first gardening experience this past spring and summer. So one of my big takeaways and lessons learned, I guess I should say, from our first experience with our spring and summer garden was how awesome super soil is.
It made a huge difference.
We could really see a difference between the things that we planted in super soil and the things that we just planted in regular potting type garden soil.
Yeah, or just in the ground.
Just into the ground.
And we'll have a video coming up at the end of this summer season, because I think our okra is going to be a great demonstration of what the diversity or
the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that already in our onions.
Yep.
So that's the one thing for me, is that we've got some of our planter beds that are up closer to the house that and some of the potted plants that don't have super soil, and I would like to amend all of those before we start our fall gardening. So that's my big takeaway, was that super soil was worth the effort and time, and it's going to be good soil for us in the raised garden beds going forward.
Yep.
We'll just need to raise it up a little bit, amend it a little bit. That's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you? What was your big takeaway or lesson learned?
So lesson learned is next year, I don't know if it's really necessary for the fall garden, but for the next summer garden or spring garden, is to get some sort of automatic watering system in the beds.
Yes.
I mean, we were lucky and we've really only had to water once a day, but still that's 30 or 40 minutes every day, every week, every month. And it just takes a lot of time, and it kind of straps you to the garden unless you want to trust somebody else to do that the way that you would do it. So if we can have something automatic where it comes on and we can monitor that, I think that would be a great lesson. And I know you guys have gave us some good advice of where to go to look for that. So I know that someone said that Hidden Heights had some in their raised beds. So if you guys have any other suggestions, leave that in the comments. Would appreciate it.
We'll definitely be looking at that for the spring.
Yes, definitely.
Our mind is set on going forward, and that's the next part of this video, is kind of showing you some of the tools we've gathered.
Yep, for sure. So about 2 weeks ago, I was able to go to a fall gardening class at our county extension. For those that aren't in the United States, so every state is broken down into different counties. I think we have like 72 counties here in Oklahoma, or some states have parishes, but they're just little governing bodies for a certain territory within our states. So in our county, we have a Oklahoma State University County Extension Office, and they do these classes, and one of the classes is for fall gardening, and the lady who ran it, she went through kind of a setup of things that you need to look for, things that you should do, and then we kind of talked about the timing of when is kind of the last time you can plant that item before we get into like the last frost date, or the first frost date, I should say. And for us, that's in the middle of November.
Right.
So that's what we're going to go over. And also we got a guide when the Self-Reliant Roadshow was in town from Baker's Creek. It was in their little gift pack, and it's actually a Clyde's garden planner. And we'll kind of run through this. Very similar kind of setup. This is just in a little handy little slide rule kind of setup versus paper and pencil kind of setup.
Right. So one of the things that Lance got, I wasn't able to join him at that fall gardening class, but one of the things that they worked through was actually getting, counting back and doing dates on the calendar.
Yep.
I really like this because it's visual, and I like that kind of structure and processing. I like to kind of know I like to see it and see the sequential calendaring and the counting back. So I really liked this when he brought that home. I was like, that works for me. I like that.
Yeah, it worked really well. So what we did is we found out what our last frost or our first frost date is for this area. And you can go online and find that out for your area. Like I said, ours is like, and she kind of broken down in like a kind of a freeze and then like a hard freeze. And our first hard freeze, I should say, is about the 13th to 15th of November. And then our first like freeze is about the 2nd of November. So those are the 2 dates we were working with. And from those dates, we actually wrote down 2 different numbers on the calendar. One was from the hard freeze, and then eventually it was one just from the freeze. And then from there, we were able to go back all the way until the date that I took this class. And then you can kind of map out and see how many days you have left from that day till now. So today is the 16th. So essentially we have to have all the plants that we grow all have to be within 79 days to harvest if we planted them today or tomorrow. So we're gonna get a little bit into that here in a second. But another tool that kind of goes along with this is this Clyde's garden planter. And there's 2 different sides. There's a spring side and a fall side. And it's a very similar process. There's a little, and we'll show some up close clips on this. But there's a average first frost, and you kind of slide it to your date. And then over here on this side, there's all these different vegetables. And then you can come over here and it kind of tells you when you should plant, like the last plant date. There's like something called LP, and that's your last plant date. And then there's little green check marks, and that's when it should be harvesting and ready for that. So you can use this and actually use something similar to this and just kind of convert it if you want to have more of a record of what you're going to do and kind of have a plan. And that's kind of what we did. We kind of went through and kind of talked about what we wanted to plant and when we needed to plant it by. And this kind of gives us a really good understanding of when we need to get that stuff done and in the ground. And it kind of puts us on a schedule.
Right. And the other thing that they did was actually the county extension actually provided a lot of packs of seeds to the people that came to that workshop, which I think is pretty awesome. So the other thing they did was they it's a really low tech solution. They just looked at the front of the package and it says days to harvest 60. So you know you want to harvest it before you freeze, right?
Yep.
So you want to see where 60 days back from that first freeze is when you need to get it in the ground if you want it ready for harvest before the freeze.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, real low-tech solution, but makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's real easy. So we know that those are beets, right? That's what that is?
Yep, beets.
So beets, we need to plant in the middle of September. So September 15th.
At the latest, we want to get them in the ground.
That's the latest that because then, you know, the plants have enough time to grow and you can harvest before that
freeze.
Before that freeze.
Yeah.
And one thing that she had talked about is when you're going through this method, if you want to do some kind of rotational kind of I don't know if it's rotational is the right word, but kind of do
stagger growth.
Yeah.
Stagger the growth and then harvest.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, you may want to plant 1 or 2 weeks prior to that, and then one on that week, and then maybe if you're going to push your luck, depending on what it is, maybe a week after or something like that, depending on where that flows and how fast these things mature.
Yeah. And that way you're harvesting week apart from each other and gives you a little bit more time with that harvest before the freeze comes. So I thought that was really smart too.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. So that's how we kind of plan things out. So next step, now we kind of got things on the calendar. What are we actually going to plant?
Yep.
There are some definite must-haves in the fall garden. One of them is tomatoes, because I think our tomato plants are still going to be going strong into the fall. It looks like they are. And so we know for sure that bed will be taken still and it will stay tomatoes.
Yeah, and we did plant one new tomato plant at July or the end of July, 1st of August. And actually, no, we actually planted 2. One didn't make it. One was a determinate, one was an indeterminate. The one that didn't make it was determinate. And these are some bigger tomatoes. So hopefully we'll have some to dice up and make some sauce later in the season.
So tomatoes, and then we know for sure we want to do onions and garlic.
Yep.
And lettuce and spinach, because we absolutely loved doing that, and we missed the lettuce and the spinach.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going in the ground for sure. And then something we haven't done before, but we're going to give a try is radishes. I like radishes. So that'll be fun. And then we'll do some snow peas and maybe some other kinds of peas. Not sure, but for sure we'll do that. Now, not on the list.
Is beets. However,
we are not necessarily fans of beets.
but I know that a lot of people are swear by them. And actually, one of our subscribers is sending us a recipe for it. So we may not grow our own right now, but we're going to try a recipe. We'll get some at the farmer's market between sometime the rest of this year, and we'll make a recipe. And I think it's a pickle beet recipe, and we'll try that. If nothing else, my sister loves them.
Yeah, excuse our dogs.
Hush.
Hush, big fella. Anyways, so that's the plan. Then all we need to do is go through eventually, and here's kind of the beds that we'll have to plant in. And we just need to kind of decide what's going to go into which of these beds.
Yep.
And then just make it happen.
Make it happen.
Just make it happen. Anything we're missing? Let us know down below in the comments. Must-haves for fall gardening. We'd like to hear what your must-haves are for your fall gardening.
Yeah,
so if you'll leave those in the comments, we'd love to see that.
Yeah, maybe we'll change our mind.
Our minds could be changed at this point. I think we're still very flexible on this, although we are going to need to decide probably by the end of next week. We need to know for sure because we got to get stuff in the ground.
Yeah, because if we're going to plant carrots, they have to be in next Thursday.
Not on the list.
Or zucchini.
Not on the list.
Okay, then we're good then. Snow peas are by the 30th.
Okay, so we'll have to figure it out next week.
Yeah. All right, well, hopefully you've learned something and you learned how to plan for your fall garden. I know we're super excited about it. We're definitely excited about those cooler temperatures and those pesky bugs, not having as many of them around, especially squash bugs. Man, this thing's wore us out.
The devil.
But again, you know, great class that I went to. I've learned so much from those folks over at Oklahoma State University. Hate to say that because I'm a huge Oklahoma University fan, and you know they're kind of rivals. But you know, for agricultural stuff, they know what they're doing.
They're great, yeah.
But guys, thanks for coming back, watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you haven't caught us on Facebook or Instagram, those will be down in the description. Go check us out. We do post some pictures about every other day or every day, and maybe a little video. And if you haven't already, there's a subscribe button over here. Subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss that video coming out next. And from our homestead to yours, have a blessed day, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.